Well, thank you all for coming. Stenen cannot be with us today, but she knows what we're doing. She knows today is the dedication of Enigma, and we sent her some links to Facebook, of course, and she's thrilled. She's thrilled about being associated with the school, and I'll tell you a quick story. I was thinking about this as I was driving down here today, that I was thinking about the emails that we were exchanging early on, kind of the getting to know you emails, and me approaching her basically as a nobody, talking to her about this idea that I had about bringing one of her pieces here. And she was a lovely person, clearly, and she was interested the whole time. And she sent to me one email. She said, "I've never heard of Hanover College." She said, let me check something out, and I'll get back to you." So a couple of days later, she emailed me, and she said, "That is a beautiful campus, and I would be honored to have any work of mine associated with Hanover." So as I was kind of hustling here to make it today, but I was thinking it's a good thing this is a beautiful campus in many ways, and it helped. I think that was kind of the thing that progressed, she and I just talking about it, to actually me thinking it was going to happen. I have to confess that when I first had the idea for this, that it was, I didn't know what the connections were. I was in a cafe in a art museum in Birmingham, Alabama, and I had picked up a couple of catalogs in the gift shop, and I was just sort of looking through them in an absent way, and I knew Stenen's work, so when I was looking at her catalog, I became interested in it. And when I was turning the pages, I started to think of my brother, and I didn't know why, I just did. And so my mind started to work quickly, and I'll spare you a lot of the sharp turns it took to get all this done. But I'm in the presence of it now for the first time today, and the connectivity is a little different. I felt the connection when I was sitting in that cafe, and the connection here feels stronger. And I don't think I really understand exactly what's going on completely, but I don't think that that's necessary. I think that for the moment, this seems to me another representation of the power of inspiration, and how meaningful it is, and how important it is to follow through with that. And this is our result. I mean, the artist's inspiration, the president's inspiration, and being a great listener, and being so open-minded when we started to talk to you about it. And I thank you for all of that. It was wonderful to know that Hanover was in the business of opening doors, not closing them. Every time I talked to you all about something, it was like, okay, how do we get it done? Not, oh, that's going to be a problem, or we can't do that. So I thank you for that. And I thank Stenen for everything that she did. And the other person I want to thank today is sitting right here. This is my friend Scott Penley. And Scott is the gold standard when it comes to friendship. He has been Denny's friend for, Denny's been gone for 25 years, and Scott has remained his very loyal friend all of that time. And Scott is the muscle and the spine of the Denny Plattner Scholarship. He raises the money, he does all of the work, and he tells me when to show up when I show up. That's how that really works. But this is the guy who did everything. We did some stuff, but this is the guy who did it all right here. So anyway, Scott's going to come up and talk to you for a minute. And I thank you one more time.
Sorry. That's all right. Here, keep that rolling there, Sunshine. Okay.
Thank you.
Elaborate a couple of things what Andy just said. He said Hanover's not in the business of closing doors, but back in the early 80s, there was a Phi Delt named John Case and a Beta named Scott Penley. That door was on our foot a few times, but it was never shut. We thank Hanover College for our diploma, and I know John thanks them, and I thank them. And I guess I want to talk a little about the scholarship fund and a little about Denny Plattner. That's why we're here, I think. My position was the head bottle wash for the Plattner outing for 25 years. Andy and I wanted to do something. We were inspired. I played in a few of these charity outings, and I said, let's have a charity golf outing. And I played in enough of these outings, and I said, how do I want to do this? And I said, well, it's not how I want to do it. How would Denny want to do it? So I'm always thinking of Denny every year, and I think of Denny every day to this day, and that's no lie. So for 25 years, I think and which is amazing, if anybody's ever played in a private golf outing, what private golf outing lasts 25 years and continues? Why? Because I did it the Denny way. The Denny way is be fair, have a good time, make a fair amount of money, but make sure everybody has a good time where they come back next year. That's also called good business, and they did. We had loyal friends, and I have a lot of them here. And I want to talk about someone else that wasn't mentioned, is Ted Sturgis. Ted, please stand up. Ted took care of the money. Ted knew Denny, and he shepherded and managed the money, and we put it in Ted's hands to begin with, and he did an awesome job with it. So I did the work, raised the money, and turned it over, and Ted and Andy did all the Hanover College stuff and the investment stuff, and it grew, and it looks like it's yielded quite well. I met Denny in '79 across the street, down the street at Crow Hall, my freshman year. He was across the hall. And next to Denny was a fellow named Woody Harrelson in his room. And we all became fast friends that day. And I'm going to read a letter from Woody here in a second. He's in Europe filming, but he sent me a letter to read. Obviously, Denny meant a lot to Woody, and he meant a lot to me. And I told Mrs. P a long time ago, Denny was my brother, and I still stand by that. Maybe a brother from another mother, but I call you my mom too, so that's okay. And Mr. P, I always loved Mr. P. The apple didn't fall too far from the tree when it come to Andy and Denny. And love Betsy and Margaret. They always treated me well. Came over to the Plattner's house all the time. Denny would come to my house, and the Plattners always treated me gold. I was green as grass when I came here. I learned culture. I learned government. I learned how to have fun. I learned how to debate. I learned what a spirit was. I learned horse racing. But Denny was my brother, and I think of him all the time, and I'm glad we could give back to the college. I feel good about it, and I'm glad they let me come here today to talk. It's easy to talk. I don't need to read anything because it just comes from my heart, so I don't need a piece of paper for that. But I do need a piece of paper for what Woody sent me. Okay. This will give you an idea a little bit more about Denny, which is why good to read. I knew Denny from being on the same hallway in freshman year, once again, Crow Hall. He was always an inspiring presence because of his humor and deep thinking and his philosophical mind. From our junior year, we were next door to each other until we graduated and became best friends. We went to Europe when we were 25. Reagan had just bombed Libya, and all of Europe was feeling very anti-American. But to see him, Denny, engage people on trains and bars, on the street in London, and then in Paris, and arguing in favor of Reagan's actions, which conflicted people's core beliefs, he would still manage to win their respect. I watched people be so angry with him, and then suddenly they'd be laughing at something he said. He had that unique, almost miraculously ability to make people love him, even after he'd made them mad. I talked to him on the last night of his life, and I guess you never know how fleeting life is. And I do wish I had another chance at that last conversation. I named my first child after him. He was the greatest human being I ever knew, and I feel real lucky to have been his friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There you go, buddy.